Hello friends, and welcome back to Keith's Kitchen. This week, I'm going back to my filling stuffed in some sort of dough or pastry and cooked route. I decided to make pierogies. Now, I'm going to just offer this disclaimer to anybody who's actually made pierogies, or to anybody from Poland or a country that makes pierogies often. I apologize. My pierogies are definitely not the best pierogies that I've ever seen. Yeah, I just wanted to get that out there. They turned out tasty. I enjoyed eating them, but they are probably not the best looking pierogies, I should say. But regardless, I'm going to be making some potato, onion, and cheese pierogies. I'm making them from scratch, including the dough for the pierogi shells. And it's not too difficult. I think the thing that really got me was I just didn't have the expertise for the actual pierogi making, but they still turned out great, and hopefully you'll enjoy watching and maybe making some of your own. So, let's make pierogies.
The first thing we need to do is make our mashed potatoes. So take 3 medium-sized potatoes and poke them with a fork, and this will allow some water to get inside to cook it a little bit faster. And then we're going to add enough water to cover the top of the potatoes. So there's no specific amount, just depends on the pot and the size of your potatoes. And then once you've covered the potatoes with about 1/2 inch to 1/4 inch of water, add some salt. Doesn't really matter the amount, just until you feel it's good enough, whenever that is. And turn your pot onto high heat, cover, and let it boil for about 25 to 30 minutes. And we're going to take this time to set another pan on the stove and add 5 tablespoons of butter so we can start sauteing our onions. So the pan goes over medium heat, and we'll add the 5 tablespoons of butter to melt. We're going to add in 2 diced onions, 2 whole onions, and we're going to cook these for about 20 minutes, stirring often. And the goal is to get them a really nice dark golden brown, and this will add a lot of flavor to our pierogi mixture, and then eventually to the pierogies themselves. As you can see, after about 20 minutes, they look really nice and golden brown. So we can take them off the heat and turn off the burner and just let them sit for a while we work on our potatoes and the rest of our pierogies. So after about 25-30 minutes, check on your potatoes. They should be fork tender. I could have let them go a little bit longer, to be honest, but I was impatient, so I took them out a wee bit early. So take them out and let them cool so you can peel the skin off, and then you can start mashing the potatoes. So I've already kind of broken the potatoes up a bit, just to make my life easier. Here is about 1 3/4 cups of ricotta cheese, and you're going to add in a couple pinches of salt to taste, and begin to mash this all up together, just to mix the cheese and the potatoes together nicely to get a nice smooth mixture. And if you're having trouble with that, you can always add in some half and half or some heavy whipping cream, and just add in a couple splashes until you get the consistency you like. Now you can add in about half of your diced sauteed onions, and that'll add a lot of flavor to the potatoes, and make sure that you get that nice onion flavor inside and outside of the pierogi. So once you've added that, mix it up and cover this and put it in your fridge to chill while you work on the pierogi dough. So in this bowl I have 2 cups of flour and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I'm going to add that in, and then I have a 1/2 cup of water and 1 single egg. Now this egg I'm going to crack right into the bowl, and I learned this trick off of YouTube from the Polish chef. It makes life a lot easier when you beat the egg inside the bowl with the water, and it just makes it so that everything's a little bit easier or more easily incorporated. Pour it right on top of your flour and use your fork to stir everything together and to incorporate that mixture into a loose dough. Then you can use your hands once it starts to come together. It'll be a bit loose, but we're going to take it and put it onto a floured work surface and knead it for about 10 minutes. So not too long. I mean, you could always knead it a little bit less if you'd like, but if you do knead it less than that, just make sure to let it rest another 5-10 minutes. Once you finish kneading, like I said, we're going to let this dough rest. So cover it with some cling film and let it rest for about 20 to 30 minutes. And this will give it time to relax. It'll give the dough time to make sure it's at room temperature. And after that time, divide the dough. You don't have to do this, but I chose to divide it so I could do 2 separate portions. And take your dough, form it into a ball, and use a rolling pin on that floured work surface. And we're going to roll the dough out to about 1/8 of an inch in thickness. Now here is where I made another mistake. My dough was a little bit too thick. Now it didn't affect the final taste, but the texture of the pierogi was a little bit more chewy than I would have liked. Now take a glass that is about 2.5 to 3 inches in diameter and use it to cut out your pierogi wrapper. Now you can get as many circles as you can out of your single roll, and then if you take the scraps and kind of ball them up and roll them back out, you can get a couple more wrappers out of those scraps. So don't throw them away. You can definitely use those. So I'm going to do this with the rest of the dough, and now we're going to start filling our pierogies. So I've taken the chilled mixture out of the fridge, and I'm scooping about 1.5 tablespoons to 2 tablespoons of the mixture right on top of those pierogi wrappers. And once they are all, the filling is distributed onto each of them, I will show you how to fold them. Now, I am not an expert in this by any stretch of the imagination, but in the bit of research that I've done on the internet, I found that the best way to make sure that your pierogies do not split open and the filling doesn't come out when you boil them is to stretch the dough like I'm doing, stretch it around the pierogi filling, and make sure that you don't get any of the potato and cheese mixture in between the outside edges that you're pinching together. And this can be better accomplished if you wet your fingers and use it to kind of seal the dough. I did not do that, but you can do that. So just pull the dough around the filling and pinch at the edges until you get that traditional pierogi shape, and make sure all your edges are sealed up. And just repeat this step for all of the pierogies, and then once you're done, we'll be able to cook them. So here's my finished pierogies. Now, these are going to be boiled in a pot of salted boiling water, and you're going to boil them maybe 4 or 5 at a time. And you'll notice I actually got a little paranoid and I crimped mine with a fork. You can also do that to make sure nothing leaks out. So boil these for about 2 to 3 minutes, and while they're boiling, take this time to put your sauteed onions back on the burner over medium heat and add in another 3 to 4 tablespoons of butter. We're going to melt this down so that we can saute our boiled pierogies once they come out and get some nice color and some extra flavor. Once your pierogies are done boiling, you'll notice that they're done when they start to float up to the top. Take them out using a slotted spoon and place them on a plate. You don't have to dry them off or anything. And at this point, you could either eat them on their own, or you can add them to the butter and onion mixture like I'm going to do, and saute them a bit. Either way is fine. So I'm going to boil the rest of these, and once I've got these in the water, we'll put some pierogies in the butter and onion pan. Now again, this is at medium heat, and you can saute these on both sides for about 3 to 4 minutes per side just to get some nice color, and that's a really, really nice way to kind of elevate the pierogi experience. So once they finish sauteing, you can plate them up with some of the onions from the pan and a bit of that butter, and you can also eat them with some sour cream on the side. That's how they're traditionally eaten. And that is all. You are finished with your pierogies.
All right, so the pierogies are finished. Now, I will be the first to admit, these are probably not authentic. I did my best, but I know that there's some Polish people out there who are going to watch this and say, that guy doesn't know what he's doing. But you know what? This is my first time, so I'm excited to try it out. It's covered in onions. I have a little bit of sour cream on the side, so I'm gonna give this a try. So the flavor is way better than store-bought, 100%. Store-bought pierogies always taste really bland and kind of uninspirational. But these taste really good. The filling is great. I love the onion on top. The sour cream is nice. It mellows everything out as well. It's hot all the way through. It's a little crispy on the outside because of sautéing it in the pan. So I think it's really nice. It's hot. The next time I make these, I think I might add a little bit of meat in the filling. I feel like that will make the pierogi feel like it's a little bit more substantial as a meal, because that's what I kind of feel like this is. There's a lot of potatoes, cheese, seasoning, onions. Add a little meat, and you got yourself a meal. So I think this is great. I definitely think that I could have done better, but I think for my very first time, I'm happy with it. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope that you go and try making these. Hopefully they'll turn out looking a little bit better than mine. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. See ya.